Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Schwartz. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Cine-Draw. It is a truly dreary Friday evening here in the good old state of Kansas, all fog and doom and gloom and whatnot out there. So I figured I'd stay in here and chill with you guys for a little while for a mega episode of Cine-Draw. Since the last time I uploaded one of these, I have seen 3 movies. There's a couple that are coming out that I want to go see, but I don't want to see by myself because I have a couple of friends that are really into these particular movies that are coming out as well, so I want to wait until I can go and see it with them. In particular, How to Train Your Dragon 3, the third part of a trilogy of movies that I really, really like. So what I figured I would do is I will just give you sort of like a rapid fire version of the normal Cine-Draw that I would do for these types of videos. Yeah, I'm not going to go into super extreme detail about any of the 3 movies I'll be talking about here. And I do want to say too, before I move on, that the Captain Marvel movie that has just come out, and I'm not gonna go see it. Not really because of any type of the controversy surrounding the movie or anything like that. Not for any of the political reasons. I just don't think it looks all that good. But I'm not really into most of the Marvel movies that have been released recently. The last 2 Marvel films that I saw were Ant-Man and the Wasp, just because I thought it looked like it would be fun, and it wasn't really all that fun. Actually, hang on a second. I'm going to get a different light source going on here. Hold on. There we go. That's much better. So yeah, I'm not really going to go see... I don't feel like going to see Captain Marvel, not for any kind of political reason. I mean, I've been following the controversy, and I'm not particularly fond of some of the things that Brie Larson said about the particular demographic that the movie is meant for. But I really wasn't interested before then anyway, just because I'm kind of over all of the Marvel movies. They just kind of feel the same to me at this point. And with Ant-Man and the Wasp, it just felt like another, just another Marvel movie. The same kind of formula, the same attention to detail, it looks good. But, it just doesn't feel super special to me anymore. But Thor Ragnarok was great. That was really fun. So yeah, I'm not going to go see Captain Marvel. If you do go see it, just let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. But the 3 movies I'm going to be talking to you about today are The Prodigy, Alita Battle Angel, and most recently, the Lego Movie Part 2, the second part. So the first one that I saw was The Prodigy. I really wasn't expecting too much from The Prodigy, mainly because I just kind of saw a trailer for it maybe a couple weeks before it came out, and I said to myself, oh, that might be interesting, and I want to go see a movie this weekend anyway, so why not? I said to myself. So I went and saw it, and I was actually decently surprised. It was a decently solid little horror flick. It deals with the typical sort of, possessed child, or the evil child that most horror movies play out, with Damien, or with the kids from Sinister, or the kid from Insidious. There's just a lot of evil kids in a lot of horror movies. I mean, Children of the Corn, Children of the Damned. there's a lot of evil little children. But like I said, I was honestly surprised by how decently solid The Prodigy was. I won't say it's a 100% amazing or great movie, but it is a good film, which is more than I was expecting from it. It basically tells the story of this kid who was born at the same time... Oh, spoilers, by the way, but I actually don't know if this is still in theaters or not, but anywho, spoilers. This child is born at the same time that this crazy, smart, sadistic serial killer is murdered. And so essentially, the kid starts growing up, and he's advancing really fast. The doctors are stunned and amazed. They're like, your son is so gifted, your son is so talented. But he also seems to have a little bit of trouble with morals, like taking joy in crushing a butterfly, or when a kid gets in takes the lab partner that he wanted at school, he brains him in the head with a wrench. So you're thinking, oh, what's going on here? And then it turns out that the kid is actually possessed by the soul of the crazy guy who died at the beginning of the movie, and the crazy guy's soul and the kid's soul are fighting for dominance and for control in the kid's body. I won't spoil the ending, but I will say it was an interesting take on what you would typically think would happen in a film like this. I think it's pretty gutsy what they ended up going with. It's a very, very dour, very sad ending, but it works for a horror movie. But I will say it does delve into the jump scares. You know, there's a lot of jump scares, but there's a decent feeling of tension in this movie too, which is what I was surprised by. I was expecting jump scares. Those are pretty much something you can't get away from anymore. People can defend jump scares as much as they want, but to me, it's just startling the audience, or it ruins any kind of tension or buildup that you were trying to achieve. And a really good example of tension done right without really any jump scares pretty much at all is the series I've been watching recently called Candle Cove from Sci-Fi's Channel Zero line. I finished that up today, and it's exceptionally good horror with barely any jump scares. You can make horror without jump scares. I just wish that more horror writers would get away from that and focus on actually building up tension and building up the scares. But anyway, like I said, the movie is fine. The acting is pretty good. The little kid is really, really good, but it's kind of weird that the kid isn't really a prodigy, which is what the movie named itself after. But the kid's not a prodigy. He's just being half controlled by a crazy psycho serial killer who happens to be really smart. So that part was a little bit odd. The performances were good, but it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen the film, and I cannot tell you the name of any of these characters. But for a single watch, I think it's a effective little horror film, and it actually makes me more interested in the writer of that movie. His name is Jeff Buhler. He has a movie coming out called The Intruder that I saw a preview for before The Prodigy, but he's also the writer of the new Pet Sematary film that'll be coming out. So I kind of didn't have much to think about the new Pet Cemetery that's coming out, but knowing what this writer can do, where he took this premise and he made a pretty decently watchable little flick out of, it actually makes me more interested in following his writing career as he goes forward. So ultimately with The Prodigy, I would say it's good. It's definitely worth a watch, but I can't imagine myself ever buying a copy of it and viewing it again. There's just not much rewatchability in this particular horror film. So The Prodigy is finished up. Now let's move on to Alita, Battle Angel. This was a film that I was honestly actually really looking forward to. And the reason I was looking forward to it a lot was the fact that I am a huge fan of anime and manga. And live action anime adaptations of have not had the best reputation and have not gone over well pretty much ever, I don't think. The nearest one I can think of would maybe be one of the one of the Street Fighter movies. I think it's called Legend of the Fist. Hang on, I think I have a copy of it. I'm back. Yeah, here it is. It's called Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. This is probably the best live-action video game movie or even anime movie that I've seen. And even then, it's kind of just passable. But every other time Hollywood tries to take a Japanese anime and make it into a movie, it don't work. Dragon Ball Evolution, anybody? But this one was being handled by James Cameron, who has a pretty good track record for putting out really solid movies. And at the very least, he has a real eye for visual detail. I mean, say what you like about Avatar, nobody can deny that it is an exceptionally well-realized world visually, if not story-wise. And he's also really been wanting to get Alita Battle Angel made for almost, I want to say 15 years now, since the original OVA even came out in the first place. So that kind of passion, I really felt like going into it that, this might have a better chance of success than a lot of the other adaptations that we've seen, because seems to be real genuine love here and genuine passion and attachment to the source material. And heck, Robert Rodriguez was directing it, and he's a pretty solid director. I mean, Shark Boy and Lava Girl aside, the guy knows how to direct. So I was looking forward to Alita Battle Angel, and when it came out, I'm really torn on my feelings on Alita Battle Angel. On the one hand, it's easily the best Hollywood anime adaptation that we've ever gotten. by far, without a doubt, far and away the best adaptation that we've gotten. The world looks amazing. Alita herself, the huge anime eyes really didn't bother me as much as I thought they would, because eventually Rosa Salazar just did such a good job as the character of Alita that I just saw Alita and I didn't see computer-generated eye sockets rolling around at me. So that part of it, the world, the way everything looks, even the fight scenes, the fight scenes are good. There's a lot more gore than you would expect for a PG-13 movie, and I think that's because since most of the characters are robots, they can just tear them to freaking pieces and not have any trouble with any kind of censorship. Fight scenes are great, action scenes are great, but I don't like it. Oh, it hurts me to say that, ladies and gents. It really does. But ultimately, two things completely sank the film for me. One of them I could get over, and that was the fact that it's a James Cameron film, so the guy's going to want to put a romance in there, and he did. And to be fair, there is a romantic subplot in the original source material as well, but the problem is this film devotes almost half of the runtime of this movie to developing the relationship between these two characters. And it's such cringy writing. There's one point when Alita gets a new body. Oh, there's going to be minor spoilers in here, by the way. She gets a new body and she says, this one has so many new sensations to it. I can feel so many more things than I could before. And the guy's over here says, oh yeah, can you feel this? And she says, I can. And he says, can you feel this? And she says, I can. And then he kisses her. He's like, can you feel that? She's like, I felt that. My teeth were in danger of rotting away from the sickeningly sweet, stereotypical nonsense that was going on there. Ugh. And again, I could overlook that, but the problem is the movie seemed to treat that like it was the most important thing while neglecting to give us any real information about the world except through exposition from good old Christoph Waltz. But again, I could overlook that because the action scenes were really good, and the way they actually finished his story was actually unintentionally really funny. And I probably shouldn't have been laughing at it, but I kind of did, and I felt like a kind of a terrible person, but I have a dark sense of humor. But I could overlook that. The thing that I could not overlook, that I could not accept at all, was the fact that the movie does not have an ending. It just straight up does not have one. It is the most blatant sequel begging move that I think I've seen in a very, very long time in almost any movie. It is almost insulting. This movie has been trying to get made for almost 15 years now. And they don't conclude the story. They basically just say, guess you'll have to wait for the second part. So you better make sure this movie's a success, otherwise you won't get a second part. They save a weird cameo for the very end that doesn't actually do anything for the plot. It's just weird. And for me, the ending of anything is the absolute most important thing. There are people that can just enjoy something for the journey that it takes them on. And that's great. That's really good for them, but I'm not one of those people. I need there to be a satisfying conclusion. Otherwise, you're building everything up for nothing. Otherwise, why would I want to watch your story again if I know that all this great buildup is just leading up to a disappointing climax that doesn't actually resolve anything? So it just makes it so I don't want to watch the movie again, because I know that it's not building up to anything. It's the same reason why I actually don't watch a TV show until I know if there's going to be an ending and if the ending is good or not. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste my time. So, unfortunately, that's what I believe for me sank my interest in Alita Battle Angel, is just the simple fact that it didn't have an ending. And that's so disappointing because the rest of it is so solid. I'm even thinking eventually that I want to get the art book for the movie because the art is so good. It has such a great sense of style, but it's all in the service of a stereotypical can a robot love a human plotline that goes nowhere and doesn't finish. Do I think it's worth a watch? Sure, absolutely. I hope it does better in the box office. I mean, I hope that people go and see this, and maybe if they don't really have as much of a hang up about endings as I do, you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. And that's great that if you're able to enjoy something that I can't. But I can't fully endorse Alita Battle Angel on the pretense that I'm such a stickler for having a proper conclusion. So those are the two movies that I have seen in full. And that little statement should lead us into the third movie, the Lego Movie 2, the second part. I love the original Lego Movie. It's better than a glorified tour commercial has any right to be. People have talked about it to death. They've talked about the amazing animation, the amazing attention to detail, the extremely witty dialogue, the really well-written story, the great twist near the end. It's just an all-around exceptionally solid and well-made movie that clearly had a lot of passion and love behind it. You can tell in every single frame of the film just how much the people making it cared and how much they loved doing what they did and making what they did. I don't think that the Lego Batman movie was very good, but it was probably one of the better Batman movies we've had on the big screen in a long time. Because the DC animated stuff that they released straight to DVD has been extremely solid almost all the way through. But here's the thing. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, is the first time since viewing The Penguins of Madagascar in theaters that I have walked out of a movie. And I hated that I did that. Why did I do that, you may ask? Well, first off, I left the movie about a half hour in. So if you want to try to tell me that the movie gets better after that time that I left, that's fine, but it really doesn't matter to me, and here's why. The movie had a really palpable sense that it had no idea what it actually wanted to be. Starting off right at the end of the last movie and picking up right where that one left off, smart move. I don't mind that whatsoever. But then it decides that it wants to be Mad Max. Basically a Mad Max Fury Road parody. And that movie came out, like 3 years ago? I feel like it came out almost right after the Lego Movie did. It doesn't work as a parody because it's such a weirdly specific parody. And the original Lego Movie didn't have any actual, quote-unquote, parodic elements to it. It was just telling an interesting, slightly meta story. But this one almost counts on you having knowledge of either Mad Max or Mad Max Fury Road, or at least some knowledge of post-apocalyptic storytelling tropes. And most kids aren't going to know that. So they're going to be really confused when they start poking fun at the tropes of Mad Max style movies, with talking about, oh, this is how you should be gloomy and gritty. This is what you should be doing this. Well, if you haven't seen what they're parodying, then that doesn't make any sense. So they made such a weirdly specific parallel that it just fell flat to me. And that went on for a good, almost the entire time that I was in the movie. And the characters just didn't gel this time. Princess Unikitty, I've been watching the Cartoon Network show for Princess Unikitty. I love that show. It's really funny. So to see her here reduced to just being angry, at least in the time that I was in the theater, she was just angry, and that was supposed to be the joke. That kind of ruined any and all development that she had from the original movie at all. She didn't decide that she just wanted to be angry all the time at the end of that one. She learned that it was okay to express your emotions sometimes and to not keep them all bottled up, because they can just explode out of you at inconvenient times and in ways that you may not intend. But no, it's just funny because now she's a giant war kitten. Instead of being happy all the time, now she's angry all the time. Everything is not awesome, as they kept saying in the movie. So, it was just a weird sense of tone where they kept going from gritty, dark and gritty, Mad Max style tone to then quirky and hilarious. Look at Emmett, he's being stupid, ha ha ha. And then the alien showed up. The alien from the Star Galaxy. I see what you did there. And they did something that made me really, really angry, honestly. Like, they spun this narrative with the way that that Wildstyle and the female alien talked about the last movie. They spun this whole narrative that Emmett didn't actually do anything. That Wildstyle is the one that saved the day. Wildstyle is the one that did everything, but yet, since Emmett was a man, he got all the credit for doing it. He got all the credit for saving the day. I believe in the movie's own words from the female alien. So, you did all the work, but yet he, the man, gets the credit. And I said, no, that's not what happened in the original movie at all, actually. What happened in the original movie was that Wildstyle did quite a few things to help save the day, and Emmett did too. They both contributed together to help save the day, and never once did Emmett try to take all the credit. In fact, he consistently made sure that people knew that Wildstyle did all this stuff too, and that Wildstyle did everything she could to help, and that she actually was extremely essential to helping to save the day. Emmett did things and Wildstyle did things. It was actually really well equalized. But yet now they want to spin this narrative because they want to tell this, because they want to make this point, this again, I don't like saying the word, but this feminist agenda that men take all the credit for things that women do, that they completely ignore what happened in the original movie in order to make their little political point. And that made me so frustrated, especially since the people that wrote the script for the second Lego movie are the same guys that made the first one. You can't just ignore something that you yourself wrote from the original movie. I mean, or just retcon it, because that doesn't work. It just makes things more frustrating for people who aren't. I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to let that just slip by. That's ridiculous. But they wanted to push this narrative, so that's how they reframed the events of the first movie. I left at the point when Queen whatever wannabe was singing her song. Because I looked at the person that I was there with and I said, do you want to stay? And she said, there's no tone to this movie. There's no consistency. And there really wasn't. There was no tonal consistency. More than the first one, it was just noise. It was just sound and light and motion going across the screen that's the equivalent of keys jangling for your infant child. And that was present in the first movie, but everything was so well shot and organized that you were easily able to understand what was going on despite all the chaos that was happening because of how well the directing was handled. You can really tell that another director took over for this movie because whoever this person is, they do not know how to direct a Lego-style action scene because the camera was waving around, the motion was spinning. During whatever's song, the camera was literally spinning around her. I was feeling sick. I did not go in there with a headache, but I sure had one after the half-hour mark because there was just nothing but sound and movement going on the screen. And that combined with the retconning of what had been established in the first movie so that they could push this new agenda, it made me upset enough that we decided that we wanted to leave. And we did, and we had a much better evening back at home. I can tell you that much. We watched a show that was actually quite enjoyable, instead of one that just made us angry and it gave us a headache. So, of the 3 movies that I've mentioned, ladies and gents, I would have to say the best one was probably The Prodigy, because it was actually a decent story all the way through and didn't have any elements that made me just outright angry or frustrated. And I don't like being frustrated at seeing a movie. I like to enjoy my time at the movies. That's why I have the pass that I do, because I love going to see films and I love sitting in the theater and enjoying the experience of watching the film on the big screen and supporting a film when it comes out with my money to let them know, yes, this is something that I would like to see. But I just don't feel like any of the movies that I've seen, apart from maybe The Prodigy, were worth the ticket price of admission, especially not the Lego movie. If I hadn't gotten my ticket for free, I would have asked for my money back. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my giant Cine-Draw video. This one lasted, how long did this last? Ooh, this lasted almost half an hour. Thank you for sticking with me this long. If you did, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to do that, you don't need me to tell you to do that. You're smart people. I hope you enjoyed this little episode. I'm actually going to go ahead and probably call it quits on this My Hero Academia piece, because thanks to the extended amount of time that I've been talking, I was able to get it pretty much finished up to how I wanted it to. Thank you for watching, ladies and gents, and until next time, have yourselves a good day. Because I know I will, because after this, I am going to go watch No End House on Channel 0.